you are somebody who has undergone her own IVF journey, were you exactly told कि क्या-क्या expect करना है?
No. And I think that's where I feel like there is a biggest gap.
Meet NEHA K Motwani, founder of LUMA Fertility, a platform born from her personal IVF journey. After building and scaling Fraternity, she's now focused on bringing clarity and support to others navigating fertility. In this episode, we sit down with NEHA to dive into her story and the mission behind LUMA.
I should have known what is my fertility timeline. I should have known that I have the option to do egg freezing. I should have known that women are born with the maximum number of eggs they are ever going to have. And this depletes with age. And the only way you can actually ensure of a future pregnancy is actually by freezing your eggs. What I saw in the US was that there's a lot of care given. You're not treated like a file. I felt like a cattle. एक तो इतनी इंजेक्शंस है, your hormones are all over the place, 2-3 घंटा waiting है. That sense of empathy that one should have when somebody is going through a fertility journey, because fertility journey is very, very tough physically and mentally. I question that why is this not happening in India? We need a system that's centered around the patient. That's the path that LUMA has taken to really correct that for the Indian market.
Let's come to egg freezing. What exactly is it?
Egg freezing is like an insurance policy. We've got financial independence, but what about biological independence?
Hi. Hi. Sorry, am I?
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
What can I offer you?
Hot water? Like chai garam?
Hair is fine because my hair is a...
क्या बोलते हैं शुरू में? Hi Neha.
Hi Chhavi.
It's lovely to have you on my show.
It's really great. I'm so excited to be
Really?
doing this finally.
I also want to really have a conversation with you, which is going to be impactful for a lot of other women out there today. Talking about infertility, which is so much on the rise. And you are somebody who has undergone her own IVF journey and whatever struggles you've been through. And then you founded LUMA Fertility. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And also congratulations on the twins.
Thank you.
Tell me, जब आपको पहली बार बताया गया था कि conceiving naturally is not going to be possible for you, what were your first thoughts?
So see, I think my journey, Chhavi, started very differently because मुझे kids नहीं चाहिए थे when I got married. I was very sure that I don't want kids, and something changed in COVID, right? In 2020 when COVID happened, I was like, no, I think we want to have kids. So my husband and I went on this path and we thought it'll be very easy for us. We are healthy, all of that, right?
Right.
And when we went on the journey, and I think my journey was a long drawn one, 3 years with multiple IUI treatments, IVF treatments, a lot of procedures, a lot of doctors, a lot of clinics. And I'm the self-proclaimed queen of IVF.
Oh God.
And I think the reason I say that because I feel like I have just gone through so much. And for me, I think never really struck me to say that, when did that transition come? Because you were just on this treadmill of ye test karo, ye karo, right? And you're like on that treadmill to figure out what is wrong, what do you do next? So it was literally, 1 month into other of something not working out. And then you look back and you feel like, oh my God, you've done so much.
So when you started the journey and you're saying IVF से पहले भी IUI भी हुआ और whatever tests and everything, were you exactly told कि क्या-क्या expect करना है?
No. And I think that's where I feel like there is a biggest gap, right? To understand what is your fertility timeline. I do feel like it's not even when I was 34. So I was 34 when I started conceiving. But I feel like it starts at 27. I should have known what is my fertility timeline. I should have known that I have the option to do egg freezing. I should have known that women are born with the maximum number of eggs they are ever going to have. And this depletes with age. And the only way you can actually ensure of a future pregnancy is actually by freezing your eggs when you can at the youngest age. I feel like the real problem starts with awareness, with women not knowing that they can actually do egg freezing. And then when they begin this journey, success rates, just in terms of explaining the different options, simple things like counseling you, telling you that IVF is not the only option. These are the steps that we will take. We will go step by step. This is how we'll assess. These are the tests that we'll do. I think there's a lot of broken experience in India specifically. And hence, I think we feel at Luma that it requires a redefining. I think this entire industry needs to be redefined. And that's what we're trying to do at Luma. So what happened is that in the research, I actually visited some clinics in the US.
Okay.
And I saw the stark difference in the way fertility care was being actually delivered there.
Like how?
Right? So over there, for example, they will not make you meet the doctor till all your tests are done and till the whole report is completely analyzed.
And what are these? What different kinds of tests are
So,
done?
for example, at the onset, right, and very, very basic level of testing, and of course, I'm not a doctor, but like the basic level of testing is like the AMH, which is the blood test
Okay.
for the female, along with a antral follicle count, which is basically done under a ultrasound to know how many follicles are there, which is basically indicating both of these parameters indicate towards the egg reserve.
Okay.
Right? And for the men, it is a semen analysis test, and there are some other tests as well. And
So are
additionally,
these, sorry to cut you, are these tests which are happening for males, are they happening in India as well?
yeah, they are happening in India as well.
When you are going for a fertility treatment?
Correct.
Okay.
That's a different story that I think a lot of men don't accept that the issue is with them. And I think not as much in the metro cities and let's say the crowd that we move around with.
Yeah.
But what we know is that across India, there's a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
And recently I heard a doctor say that this particular gentleman went through 3 wives thinking that I'm not able to get one pregnant, second, let me marry third. And then eventually it made him realize to do his semen analysis test.
Oh my God. Just assuming that I
Assume-
cannot have a problem.
Yes, right. So when I heard that, I was like, this is actually really, really crazy. And for us, for example, at Luma Fertility, we are very, very particular that both husband and wife need to get tested. And we will do a debrief of both your reports because it is not just assuming that the issue is with the female or the issue is with the male, right? We want both. So coming back, what I saw in the US was that there's a lot of care given. And it is not treated like, you're not treated like a file. You're not treated like just in and out and on a conveyor belt, right? Because what I felt in my journey was I felt like a cattle. I felt like ek to itane injections hai, your hormones are all over the place, 2-3 ghanta waiting hai, right? And there is no basically, that sense of empathy, right? That one should have when somebody is going through a fertility journey, because fertility journey is very, very tough physically and mentally.
Right.
So I feel like when I saw that, I questioned that why is this not happening in India? And I think the answer that I got is that the doctors may be trying to do their best, but the system is made in a way that it is actually centered around the doctor. But we need a system that's centered around the patient. Right? So what does the patient want? When do they want to come for a consult? What do they want? What is their objective? Right? So I feel like that was what was needed. And that's the path that Luma has taken to really correct that for the Indian market.
So tell me, what is the emotional impact of the whole waiting period when you do a cycle and now you're waiting to get pregnant and you're also hormonal? What is the emotional impact of that on a woman as well as a man?
Yeah. No, and I think a very beautiful question because it has so many nuances, right? You're absolutely right. Let's say किसी ने IVF किया है, they have done an embryo transfer and they have a 2-week wait period. I think this is the time when you're hoping for the embryo to implant, right? And after 14 days, you're doing the beta HCG test. I think those 14 days for me, and I think I spoke to a lot of women while sort of researching about Luma, and everybody said that was the toughest time. Right? Because you're going through a hormonal bit because you're on progesterone, you're on medicines, you're actually physically and mentally feeling the impact of those hormones. And second, you really want it to work. Like you're desperate, right? I feel like, me and, included a lot of other people are in that baby fever phase when you really want a baby and everybody around you, is popping babies. And you're like, mera kyun nahi ho raha hai? And it is me and, all of that. So you have a lot of these existential questions that, what if this doesn't work out? What are my chances? What do I do? Like I remember constantly, if somebody had seen my Google search history during that time, the number one thing I would ask is, how do I improve my success chances? Right? Because you have that sense of anxiety. Can I do something? Can I do something? What if I'm doing this
So
wrong?
you're Googling all this. Is there no professional advice given that these are the things you can do to increase
So
your
it's very
chances?
limited. They should be, exactly, right? And it's very limited in terms of like the do's and don'ts and the basic instructions. And hence at Luma, for example, we've actually ensured that there is a care navigator who's answering all these questions.
Okay.
We've actually created a chat GPT for fertility where you can ask these questions, which are doctor verified and which are Indian sort of Indian women researched. So if I Google today, for example, a lot of things that I see are is just research that's not about Indian women, right?
Right.
And you want to know about, for example, should I fast? Should I do this? What should I do? And we're actually trying to give answers which are in sync for Indian women.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that happens in that wait period is the relationship also suffers, right? Because I think as a couple, what I have seen, again, right, a lot with patients that we see, that they've been through so much, and it actually ends up seeing even sort of, disconnects within the husband and wife, right? And I feel like if a couple goes through IVF, I think they can go through anything and everything. It makes them really strong.
So if it's successful, then it strengthens the bond.
Absolutely. No, I feel like if they've gone through it and they're still together, I think their bond is strengthened.
Right. But what you spoke about, this Google kind of system for questions, it really makes a lot of sense, because I think in the whole medical industry, there is this big gap, because आप बड़े बड़े डॉक्टर्स के पास तो चले जाते हो किसी भी तरह का ट्रीटमेंट कराने के लिए, लेकिन as a patient you have so many questions when you come back home, and you cannot keep bothering the doctor with WhatsApp messages all the time, and I don't think too many doctors even respond to those questions. I remember when I was going through my own cancer treatment, I used to write a list of questions and send them to my doctor कि भाई जब भी जवाब देगा सबका साथ में दे दे, because मैं बार बार नहीं मैसेज कर सकती हूँ. But for a person who's actually going through an IVF journey and so many things are happening, I'm sure there must be so many questions which must be popping in the mind.
Absolutely.
As a pregnant woman also, even before eating a meal, I would keep thinking ये खा सकती हूँ कि नहीं खा सकती हूँ, फिश कौन सी अलाउड है, क्रैब खा सकती हूँ कि नहीं, कितना कॉफ़ी कितनी पी सकती हूँ, चाय कितनी पी सकती हूँ. These things very, very important that there is somebody who's answering your questions, right? And tell me कि emotionally, जैसे आप couples की बात कर रहे हैं, what is the role of a male in all of this?
See, I think, just coming back on what is IVF, right? And of course, you know this, but there are 3 parts to it. One is the part where the women, goes through scans, hormone injections to actually produce more eggs in a particular cycle, to actually convert more follicles into eggs, because typically it's 1 egg per cycle. So that is a 12 to 14 day period called stimulation, in which there's no male part in that sense, because the female's going through injections and she's coming for scans. Step 2 is basically in the lab when the eggs are retrieved under a small procedure that is done. And that's when, the husband actually ends up giving his semen sample so that the egg and the semen, the embryo is created, right? And the third stage is when the embryo is actually implanted. So across all the stages, I think, I have heard men say that I end up feeling like the sperm donor. And I actually do not know how to help my wife. Right. So what we've actually done is that, we've really tried to support the male partner in both. One, the assessment, like I mentioned. Second, more like debrief in terms of what they can do. And third, the app that we have, which is the LUMA app, they have access to it. So they exactly know what the journey is. Today, what are the appointments? What are the injections? What are the medicines? So they are actually just able to help out their wife in the whole journey. And we've heard some great feedback, because I feel like it's really important for the husband and wife to feel that they're doing this together. Yeah,
of course. There's a physical involvement is one part.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of emotional involvement.
Correct.
I think a wife needs a lot of support during that time. And if somebody can counsel the husband about what he can do in terms of emotional support, I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah. And you brought in a very important topic, which is actually, emotional health when you're going through fertility treatments. And we've seen research which actually points out that if you're actually feeling positive and you don't have anxiety and you have a positive outlook, your success outcomes are better.
Wow.
With everything else remaining constant.
Wow.
Which basically means that if you actually do psychological counseling, therapy with the couple together, which we do at Luma, you actually improve their success outcomes because they look at it positively and they're actually in it together.
Yeah, and of course, I think even medically or by the numbers, you can't really change the percentage of the success rate. But
Correct.
if the journey can be made as smooth as possible for the couple, that also alone
Correct.
makes a lot of difference.
Correct. And you've been through a cancer treatment, right? There's this research which actually talks about that fertility treatments are actually ranked second after cancer in terms of how tough they are.
Yeah.
So of course, cancer is super tough, and
Yeah.
the reason it is tough is that it's mentally and physically grueling.
Yeah.
The reason IVF is tough is because of the success rates are not 100%, and again, it's emotionally and physically sort of draining together.
Yeah.
And if something is so difficult, it actually means that you need to solve for the friction points more so, right?
Correct. And also, if you know that, okay, this is a 15-day journey, or okay, this is a 2-month journey or a 6-month journey, you know that there's light at the end of this tunnel. But when you're constantly just waiting, I mean, it just puts that much more pressure on the person who's going through it.
Absolutely. And one of the learnings that I had when I was going through my IVF treatments is that I didn't feel like there was a sense of predictability in appointments. I did not know what to do next, whether could I travel or not. And hence, I think the one thing that we do at Luma is chart out your calendar. So we block the appointments in advance. We actually put a Google calendar.
Okay.
So that you exactly know 9 a.m. on Tuesday you're coming. Next week, what is your
And no
slot
waiting
like?
period then.
No waiting period. You're going to come, do the injections. We're going to, in fact, do the injections at home. So we actually send our nurses home. So just imagine this, right, Chhavi? Like imagine all the friction points in the journey of somebody, A, wanting to know their fertility timeline, B, wanting to freeze eggs, or actually conceiving via IVF. If all the friction points were actually addressed with the patient in the center, how would it turn out to be? So that's what we've done.
And tell me, how is it for a woman who's working? How difficult is it for a woman who's working?
It's actually
balance out the work timings
and actually that's a very, very important question, because when we spoke to a lot of women, they felt like it was very tough for them to do the IVF treatment along with a tough job, or like work, because you're expected to go into appointments at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., and you're supposed to wait, right? So I feel like it's not actually like the IVF treatments and the availability in terms of clinics are actually not focusing on IVF for the working woman, right? And we're doing our bit in terms of ensuring that, for example, we are open Monday to Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, wow.
Right? And we actually prefer like early morning appointments before you go to work, or late evening appointments, or online injections at your office if you are going to be in office, blood work at office. So I think these are ways to help, because I feel like, I have been on the other side where I have been told, you want a baby, आपको baby चाहिए ना, तो आप रुकिए please madam. आप जॉब वॉब भूल जाइए, अभी आपने इतना वेट किया, right? I have actually been on the receiving end of this. And I'm like, is this 2022? And is this modern India? And how are women getting treated like this?
Oh my God. And tell me, what is the sensitivity level of workers around you, your employees, your colleagues, or at the workplace when you're undergoing a treatment?
I think mostly what I have noticed is that women don't want to share that they are going through this, because there is a general taboo associated with doing a fertility treatment, and I honestly don't understand why. But I do get the fact that at workplace, you may not want to tell your manager or your team that you're intending to conceive, right? But what I don't get is why a fertility treatment is looked down upon, right? Like this morning, a colleague was talking that agar knee surgery karni hai, so we don't say that your knee is like unnatural or not able to deliver. So why, when it comes to IVF, are you saying that, I'm not able to naturally conceive?
Yeah.
Just look at fertility rates declining everywhere. So it's not like your body's natural ability has gone down and there's some major gap with you and you need this treatment, right? But that is the notion, Chhavi, and which is actually so sad. I feel like women, so many women just hide with their friends that they have gone through a fertility treatment. And while it is changing, when a lot of people who are known are celebrities who are talking about it, I think it's slowly changing in India. But we're a long way to go.
There is so much awareness needed, I
Yeah.
feel. And like you rightly said, it's growing, it's on the rise. I mean, and infertility today, there are so many causes for it. It's not even just age related. Younger people are suffering from infertility. There are lifestyle issues. There's issues with our food that we are eating.
Absolutely.
There's, there's pesticides in the food. There's so many
Correct.
different, and stress levels at
Exactly.
work, in family, everywhere. So
Yeah.
I don't think there should be any stigma attached with it. It's just like, it's become a lifestyle disease, actually.
It has. You're right. And I think globally so, not just in
Yeah,
India.
exactly.
In China, they are relating air pollution to fertility problems, right? In the US, we know the kind of incidence of infertility is at its max, right? And you're right. It's because of lifestyle, it's because of food, it's because of stress. And I feel like the one thing that I regret and which I feel all the women should have this option to is basically get their fertility tested and take a decision if they want to do egg freezing.
Yeah, let's come to egg freezing. What exactly is it and how is it done? Procedure क्या होता है exactly उसका?
So I'm of course going to give you a non-doctor version
Absolutely.
of this. But basically the logic is simple. You're born with only that many number of eggs, right? And when you're born with those eggs, each cycle you shed those eggs in the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
Right? And there is one dominant egg out of all the follicles, which actually is in that sense going to lead into a pregnancy, if there is intercourse, right? What egg freezing does is basically in a particular month, when you decide to do egg freezing, you basically go through hormonal injections.
Okay.
These injections are hormones that your body anyways produces, but they add more so that the follicles actually grow into eggs.
Okay.
Right? Because you don't want to just go and do a procedure which is under general anesthesia to actually remove one egg, right? Each cycle, you want to actually get more eggs.
Okay. As many as possible.
As many as possible, right?
You want to get the maximum out
Correct,
of it.
because you're actually going through a procedure
Right.
to actually do the retrieval. And when this cycle happens, it's actually very simple that it starts at day 2 of the cycle. You do a couple of scans and you're given injections over that course of day 2 to about day 14. Somewhere around day 13 to day 15, there's an egg retrieval procedure. And prior to that, there's an injection given called the trigger shot. And post that, you're called into the OT, and there's a small procedure done which lasts for 10 minutes. You require 3-4 hours to recover. And that is when the eggs that are collected are actually taken into the lab. All the matured eggs are actually taken and then they are frozen.
Okay. And roughly how many eggs are retrieved during one procedure?
So it depends, female to female.
Yeah.
And I think an important point to note is that it all depends on what the egg reserve for that female is and what's her age. So basically, depending on age and AMH level that we spoke about earlier, it could anywhere be between, let's say, 5 to 15 eggs that can get recovered.
And what is the perfect age to do this?
So what we see, at Luma, is that the perfect age is like sort of late 20s and early 30s, because that's when the egg quality is at its best. Okay. Of course, it's really at its best in the early 20s, but typically, what we've seen is that if you freeze your eggs anywhere between 28 to 32, you're in great shape, because these are young eggs.
Okay. And how long do these eggs last when frozen, so that they are still viable?
So you can actually freeze them forever because they are frozen under minus 165 degrees, and they are frozen in time in that sense.
Okay.
But typically 10 years. So what we've seen women do is typically come in, when, for example, they've not chosen the right partner, or they want to delay having kids, or they are not sure if they want to have kids, but they want to have the option. And then after a couple of years, 5 years, 7 years, come back with the partner, and then create the embryo and transfer.
And what is the success rate? Let's say somebody has frozen the eggs and after 7-8 years, they want to retrieve them now and get pregnant. What is the success rate of these frozen eggs? Is it that every egg can be a viable, a potential baby?
Yeah, so every egg can be a viable embryo, you're right. And it of course depends on some technical factors like when the eggs are thawed and when the semen sample is sort of taken and the embryo is created. But each embryo transfer the success rates are same in what IVF is, right? Because
Okay.
this is the second half of the IVF cycle in that sense.
Right.
And the chances are 60 to 75, 75% per embryo transfer.
Okay.
Right. But I think one interesting part, and this, Chhavi, maybe I did not know when I was getting into this, is that, women, if they choose to actually freeze their eggs, it's not necessary that they need to go for IVF.
Okay.
Right? Meaning that, let's say at 31, I decided to freeze my eggs. At 34, I got married. And at 36, I wanted to conceive. Right? I can do natural conceiving.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Which basically means that I can keep my eggs for later if
Right.
it doesn't work out.
Right.
Or maybe for my second child when maybe I'm 40 and I want to conceive
Right.
again. Right? So I feel like egg freezing is like an insurance policy. And I know a lot of women who've done it really feel a sense of relief.
Yeah.
And they feel empowered. Right?
Right.
And I really think that that's something as women, like we've got financial independence, but what about biological independence, right? This is a way for us to have our genetics, save our genetics, and have our biological child whenever we wish to. Because the interesting part is that conception can happen later on, right? Your uterus can still implant, but it's the eggs that need to be younger, right? So I know somebody who in their mid-40s, because she had frozen her eggs, she actually took those eggs and then she conceived at 45.
Wow.
Right? But so that's possible, and that
Right.
option is there. And which I feel hence that, women should know that this option exists, and they should at the onset just know what their fertility timeline is. Yeah. And what I mean by fertility timeline is understanding basis the AMH level and the AFC. What's your egg reserve like, which is very different for you, very different for me.
So how do you find that out? Is there like a test or something that is
Yeah,
done
so
for
there's a
it?
blood test called AMH,
Okay.
which tells you your egg reserve count. And there's also antral follicle count, which is done under ultrasound. The AMH is actually a very simple blood test, right? Which I feel is like so simple, right? And the way we interpret at LUMA is basically not just a number, which is 2, 3, 5, 1, but we actually explain it a little differently. X-axis age, Y-axis AMH. We actually map where your AMH level is
Acha.
compared to India average.
Okay.
And what is the predictive decline. So if I have done this test at 27, it will tell me that at 34, what will be my AMH
Oh.
and how will it move.
Oh.
And we then bucket you under 3 options. A, B, C. A is immediate attention, which basically means that you should look at freezing, looking at any of these conceiving options. B is you can look at it as short term, and C is long term. So there are so many women who come into LUMA and we tell them, listen, your egg reserve's great, everything's fine, you're in long term. Please go, live your life, travel, do whatever you want. You have a lot of time, right? Because the answer is different for everybody.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So in the egg freezing option, if you want to conceive later and use your frozen eggs, how important is testing the male semen at that time?
So when you're egg freezing,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
let's say you want to conceive later now, at
Yeah.
a later age.
so egg freezing is just about the egg. There's nothing about the semen.
No, I'm saying what is the success rate if, let's say, if the man is infertile now, your eggs are good quality,
Yeah.
you froze them in time
Yeah.
at a great age, but now the semen is not great quality. What difference does that make to the implantation?
No, so it would make a massive difference. And I think before the embryos are created, typically the doctor would do tests on the male.
Okay.
It starts with the semen analysis, a DNA fragmentation. These tests are done only then an embryo is created, if everything's looking fine.
Okay.
But yeah, infertility is seen 50% on the male side as well. So there are certain procedures, there are certain things on the male side, which are also solutions into how fertility from their side also can be managed.
And the whole procedure of egg freezing, what is the downtime of it?
So actually, there's no downtime except the fact that you may require to go in for a few ultrasounds, which
Okay.
could be 3 to 4 ultrasounds in that 14-day period.
Okay.
And that one day when the egg retrieval procedure is planned for,
Yeah.
which will be pre-planned, and it will be 3 to 4 hours.
And after that, you're good to go.
You're actually good to go home. In my egg retrieval, I have actually just managed to just go to office,
Okay.
post that. But maybe, some women may choose to just take rest,
Take
or
a
take
few
half a
days
day,
off.
took maybe
Right.
a day off. You're
Okay.
actually fine the next day.
Are there any short-term or long-term side effects to it?
I think from a short-term perspective, because these are hormones, they tend to make you feel a little bloated, like a little cranky, and all of
So
that.
maybe like a longer PMS.
Yeah, but nothing over long term, because they actually get flushed out of your system in the next cycle.
Right.
Right. So it's very, very in that cycle per se, but nothing you can't manage.
And how expensive is it? And does insurance cover it?
Egg freezing is about, I would say, anywhere between 1.5 to 2 lakhs in India currently.
Okay.
And it has a yearly freezing cost, because you're freezing those embryos for, let's say, 5 years, 7 years, depending on what your timeline is.
Okay.
And unfortunately, not many insurance companies cover
Right,
it.
because it's still an elective procedure.
It's still an elective procedure, but we're seeing more and more corporates, and that's actually a very interesting, trend, Chhavi, that a lot of corporates who are having women in their workforce, especially at senior roles, are realizing that if women are building careers and actually focusing on their career, we need to give them this option of egg freezing.
Okay.
And globally, for example, Fortune 500 companies, you see a large percentage of them actually giving egg freezing as a benefit,
Oh, wow.
which I think is an absolute must.
Yes, it's very progressive and it's needed today. Yeah?
Yes,
it's needed. If you want women in the work
Yeah.
space, then of course you have to give them that
Yeah.
benefit.
And it's such an empowering choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But tell me, what role is... Okay, you've frozen your eggs. It's
Yeah.
great. How important is your uterus and your follicular health? What role does that play in a successful pregnancy once you use those frozen eggs?
Yeah. So I'll actually just quote doctors, because I don't come from the medical field. But what I understand is that there are 3 things for successful pregnancy in that sense: the egg, the sperm, the uterus.
Yeah.
Right? So if egg is of good quality and has been frozen, if the semen or the sperm is of good quality, and the uterus is of good sort of health, then a pregnancy will happen, right? From a uterus health perspective, we've not seen that many sort of issues.
Okay.
Typically, it is the egg and the sperm.
Okay.
And hence a lot of couples go for embryo testing, so that they test genetically sound embryos and then implant them.
Okay.
And that's how we look at sort of success rates improving as we go along.
That sounds really positive and that sounds really nice, because you're right. I mean, it does empower a woman if you can freeze your eggs, and you know that your chances of getting pregnant later have increased so much later on.
No, and I just feel like it gives you the ability to have that freedom and have that choice, whether it is that you want to travel, whether it is that you want to take time to choose your life partner, whether you're building a career. It just gives you that mental clarity to say that, listen, I can take my time.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be on this biological ticking clock.
And I think I can speak from personal experience that having a child is literally a second birth for any woman. You cannot just rush that up because you think, oh, I'm running out of time. I need to do this now, to have a healthy baby. And I mean, things can go in either direction. You can be a mother, but you probably may not be a happy mother. Right? If you have to sacrifice a lot on your dreams and then have a baby just because your biological clock is ticking.
Correct.
So I think it does empower you a lot. And I mean, I had 2 healthy pregnancies, but then again, even I had decided in my marriage that both of us thought we are never going to have children. And because we got married early, so even after 7 years of marriage, when we decided, we were still in good time.
Yeah.
And God was kind. But yeah, I mean, when you take that decision and when you feel that now I want to have a baby and you cannot, it's
so tough.
It's so tough.
Yeah.
So tell me, now that you've gone through multiple IVF cycles and now that you have founded LUMA Fertility, if you want to conceive again, would you go through it again?
I mean, yes, I feel like it's an amazing science. I have been inside the lab and I have seen, I think it's pure magic in terms of what the embryology lab does. Definitely. I mean, I think I would have done a lot of changes in the way I went about it, just in terms of just having seen through it and having learned. But it's a beautiful science, and we have the option to actually, I mean, our parents' generation maybe didn't, right?
Right.
And we have this as an option. So I would do it again for sure.
So, just my last question to you. What would you like to say to the women who are planning to go in for an IVF treatment? What is it that you would tell them कि ये चीज़ मुझे नहीं पता थी, so I'm telling you this now, be prepared, or whatever?
Actually, that's a very interesting question, and I've not thought about it that much. But I think I would sort of say two things. One, I think to the women who don't want to have a child, which is me, from like when I got married, which was 26 to like 34, and I would run when somebody would say that, think about a baby, all of that. And then the same person in 6 months became so desperate that I wanted a child. So I would tell women who don't want kids, just know your options.
Yeah.
Right? If you change your mind and you're allowed to, you should have a backup. Right? And I think for the women who are going through or are planning to go through IVF treatment, I feel like the number one difference that it makes is who you choose, the clinic and the doctor. So I feel like ask for more. Don't just be happy with that 2 minutes that you get with your doctor, or don't get answers to your questions. You deserve better. You deserve more. Don't settle, and ensure that your husband, your family, your support system is in sync with you, because you need a lot of that when you're going in.
Thank you so much. That was very well said. And I hope you guys had a lot to take away from this conversation. For all the women out there who are planning to go in for an IVF treatment, I think I would also like to say that please also talk about it. Don't hide it from your friends and family and your colleagues. I think a lot of awareness is needed around it. And people who are undergoing it are the ones who are the best people to talk about it. So that's what I would like to say. And please put down your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You're watching Candid Confessions with Chhavi. This is both of us signing out. Love and peace from us to you.